Well, I'm here anyway.
Hello? Is this the poetry reading?
Yes, yes. Hi, I'm Lou.
Nice to meet you. I'm Curtis.
What brings you here?
My Uncle Emmett told me about it. I've been trying to write some poetry myself lately.
Don't try too hard. Just let it flow.
That's fine if you're a genius, eh?
True, but if you're not, who cares anyway?
Hey, I'm Sai.
Hi, welcome. I'm Lou. Is that Cy as in Simon?
No, it's spelled PSI, like the Greek letter.
Cool, love it. Your pen name?
Never thought of it that way.
So what brings you here?
Oh, my girlfriend Jay told me about it. She knows I love poetry, all kinds.
There are as many kinds of poetry as there are people.
I totally agree. Hello, other box person.
Hi, Sai. I'm Curtis.
Hi, Curtis. Are you a poet?
I was an English major in college and tried to write some poems, but I never lived up to my own standards. One could say I'm a poet wannabe.
You know what? All poets are wannabes because none of us really know what we're doing.
Good afternoon.
You must be Robin. Welcome. I'm Lou. And we're also joined here by Cy, spelled Psi.
Hey,
Say
Robin.
Cy.
And I'm
Hey.
Curtis.
Wonderful to meet you all.
Curtis is writing some poetry himself these days. How about you,
Oh,
Robin?
sometimes I read poems in the New Yorker, and honestly, they all seem overly complicated. Like beating around the bush, you know? I mean, not just saying directly what you want to say.
Mm,
What about song lyrics? They're very simple and direct.
Yeah, you're right. I was just thinking about rap. Is that real poetry?
Sure, why not? I love rap poetry.
Speaking of love, our theme for the day, as you know from my email, is love. And by that, I mean all kinds of love: gay, straight, love of animals, of life, of
Love
God.
of poetry.
Oh, good.
Love and hate, desire and loathing, pleasure and pain are also intertwined.
Lou, like, where are you?
Oh, I'm at my townhouse in Manhattan.
Can you show us around? I'm an interior designer, so
Maybe later on FaceTime?
You're the teacher, right?
No, no, no. This is not a class. I'm just a facilitator. It's a place to share poems we like or wrote ourselves, talk about poetry, etc. I started it in the 70s.
when encounter groups were popular.
Actually, my late husband Jerry started it, and I've kept it going.
Sort of in his memory.
Yes, he he was also a great poet, except nobody knew it, including himself.
No, I was almost married. We were engaged and planning a wedding and everything, but then Laura was her name, well, is her name, just suddenly broke it off a week before the wedding.
Oh no, what was that?
Now there's a subject for a poem.
I suppose, but it's very painful to write about. I loved her so much.
I understand how you feel.
Maybe instead of a love poem, you should write her a hate poem.
Yeah, how can you love somebody like that?
Oh, but I still do, and I always will love her.
My love life is a thing of the past. But anyway, I would like to read a poem now, okay?
Yes, please. That's why we're all here, I think. Yes? No?
Yes. Lou, do facilitate us.
If you insist, Si. I found one by Walt Whitman. I thought we might discuss it. It's called To a Stranger. Would anyone like to read it?
No, you read it. You picked it out.
Wait, let me pull it up on the screen for you. Okay, here goes. to a stranger, passing stranger, you do not know how longingly I look upon you. You must be he I was seeking, or she I was seeking. It comes to me as a dream. I have somewhere surely lived a life of joy with you. All is recalled as we flit by each other, fluid, affectionate, chaste, matured. You grew up with me, were a boy with me, or a girl with me. I ate with you and slept with you. Your body has become not yours, only nor left my body only. You give me the pleasure of your eyes, face, flesh. As we pass, you take of my beard, breast, hands. In return, I am not to speak to you. I am to think of you when I sit alone or wake at night. Alone I am to wait. I do not doubt I am to meet you again. I am to see to it that I do not lose you.
I can relate to that. I often see somebody on the street I'm attracted to and fantasize about them later.
That's kind of a guy thing.
Not me. I can't imagine being with anybody except Laura. It's not like I have a endless supply of love to give away, but like a foundation grant.
Sex for me is like fun, something to do with friends, whoever they are.
They. Are you one of the people that like to be called they?
No, I just mean whoever they might be, man or woman. Did everybody notice, by the way, that Whitman says, "We're a boy with me or a girl with me"?
Are you bisexual?
Yes, but also hopelessly cis.
I'm actually trying to be more gender fluid, but it's hard. Literally.
Very funny. The problem with men, straight or gay, is all they think about is sex. That is so boring.
Yes, boring. Again, literally.
Aren't you the witty one?
But what about love at first sight? Isn't that what Whitman is talking about here?
I believe in it. I loved Laura with my whole heart the first moment I laid eyes on her, and I still do, and I will do for the rest of my life.
Curtis, you're a true romantic.
I do like my girlfriends, but I'm not in love with them. What's love got to do with it? What's love but a second-hand emotion?
Do like the way you look, though, right?
No. I mean, yes, I do care about how they look, but that's like secondary to
Their personality.
whatever. I just like hanging out with them.
So many kinds of love, right, Sai?
One of my girlfriends said the only one she really loves is her cat.
Because they're cute and don't talk back.
You say you have girlfriends, right? But you also quote sleep unquote with men.
No, I don't literally sleep with men. Once they come, they gotta go. And I like that they don't waste my time either. Women tend to talk too much.
Talk can be very erotic, like sexting.
Or on FaceTime.
Makes me think of masked balls.
Yeah, like going to bed with someone you've never even seen with their mask off.
That happens all the time these days. It can be very disappointing.
Sometimes I do like having anonymous sex.
Or as in the poem, fantasizing about it.
Playing with yourself. Actually, the best sex in a way. I mean, you know what you like and when you like it.
Poem does sort of suggest like a wet dream.
When I was a kid, I used to practice masturbating but not letting myself come so I could last longer with someone. Like a master fuck.
Getting back to the poem, one thing I love about it is the idea that the stranger in the title is really not a stranger at all, but someone the poet Whitman says he somewhere surely lived a life with, and which he says is recalled as we flit by each other. What do all of you think about that?
That's so cool. Like, there are people we've never met who we already know, like soulmates.
I always thought me and Laura were soulmates.
But obviously she didn't. Perhaps a case of mistaken identity?
Oh, excuse me. I must have you confused with some other soul.
Curtis, don't pay attention to them. You have something very precious to a poet. Deep feeling.
I was just teasing you, Curtis. But now you have a chance to meet somebody new. Somebody who will love you back. Maybe even a man.
I know a lot of girls who would really like you because you're so sensitive.
You're actually very feminine, Curtis. I like that about you.
Well, I'm definitely not gay, if that's what you're implying.
Curtis, being feminine does not mean being gay, or vice versa.
A lot of gay guys are actually too macho. Like, all they care about is buffing their bods or nailing some other muscle man.
Not me, Sai. I love feminine men. What I can't stand are butch women.
Oh
Ugh.
my God. Yeah, I must confess, women with big muscles turn me off.
So some men look like they have breasts.
That's too feminine for me.
Lou, what about you? Did you ever have sex with a woman?
I'm somewhat embarrassed to say I never did. In my day, a liberated woman was one who slept with a lot of guys, which I did for a while until I met Jerry.
Your husband, the poet, right? I guess he was straight too.
He was, although a lot of his friends were gay, like Allen Ginsberg. He loved Jerry, kept trying to talk him into sleeping with him, which scared him. Jerry used to say, "Now I know what it's like to be a woman with some guy after you." But what I've been meaning to say is that Ginsberg was really the heir to Whitman, you know?
Both were gay.
Oh, remember that Kurt Cobain song? What else could I say? Everyone is gay.
Sometimes I feel like that I'm the only straight male left.
That might be a good subject for a poem, Curtis.
Is there something wrong with me because I'm straight?
Maybe you are gay, though. And maybe that's why Laura, is that her name? Left you. Were you two having good sex?
I know this may seem odd to you in this day and age, but we never actually had sexual intercourse.
No way!
It's true. I was sort of afraid I might not be good at it, or I don't know, disappoint her or something.
Had you never? Are you a virgin?
Oh, now that would be a shocking tale.
Actually, not. Well, not technically. I mean, well, it's complicated. I don't really like talking about it, but well, for my 21st birthday, a friend arranged a session with me with a prostitute.
Oh, and?
As I said, I've never really talked about this before, but let's just say it didn't go exactly well.
But you did it, no?
Sort of.
Did you come?
Yeah. I don't really want to talk about this anymore.
Let me just say that we can talk about anything we want here, but we also have to respect each other's boundaries.
Oh, my life is an open book. I will tell you anything you want to know about me.
Oh, we're all dying to hear.
What hell? What about your life, Robin? What's so fascinating about it?
Oh, I'm rather boring. Very domestic. Just me and Terrence in our little nest in Hell's Kitchen. My work is far more important to me than my sex life. But we do have our dalliances. Our unofficial policy is don't ask, don't tell.
Very French.
Exactly. They definitely cultivated the art of living. But Lou, tell me more about Allen Ginsberg. He was one of the few poets I even knew about as a teenager. That whole period in the 50s and 60s seemed so romantic to me growing up in the 90s. People weren't so cynical then.
A lay rabbi, really.
Oh, pun intended, of course.
He once said something like, I believe in God, in Jesus, in Krishna. If anything, his religion was connected to hallucinogenics. One time, we all went to Guatemala. I paid for everybody as usual. We had a session with some renowned shaman there. I was never so stoned in my life. But I tell you, when you have a mystical experience like that, your whole view of reality is changed forever.
The doors of perception are cleansed.
Blake, very good.
Did you write a poem about that?
That's a good question, Robin. And the short answer is yes, we tried. But when it comes to the ineffable, the mystical experience, there are no words to describe it. Wait, I take that back. You can describe it, but the readers can't really know what you're writing about if they haven't had that experience themselves.
In other words, when it comes to something deep, words fail you.
But if they do know what you're talking about, like love, then a poem can mean a lot. But that's what I'm trying to do with my poem, Ode to Laura.
So you can impress her and win her back, right?
I'm not trying to impress her. I'm just trying to tell her how she means everything to me.
If she means everything to you, no wonder she left you. You have to bring something to the table.
All I can say is there are many, many fish in the sea.
Did she ever say why she left you?
She said she wanted to be free. She's a painter.
Ah. By the way, what do you do, Curtis?
I'm the manager of a bank.
I thought you said you were an English major.
I was, but I had to find a way to make a living, so I got into the bank's training program. See, my plan was to make poetry at night.
Ah, I see. How about you, Sai?
I was doing really well as a DJ and was planning to open my own club when the pandemic hit. Now I'm getting okay as a tutor. I'm really good at things like SAT exams. Now it's your turn, Robin.
Like I said before, I'm an interior designer. You're Asian, right?
Chinese, actually.
Ah, then you know about feng shui.
Of course.
That's the philosophy behind all my designs.
Cool. It's all about chi, really, as is everything in a way.
That's very interesting. Maybe there could be a feng shui of poetry.
Totally.
I must admit, I'm lost in this conversation.
That's what I like about you, Curtis. You're always the outsider, always suffering with the wounds whose blood flows through the poet's pen onto the paper.
You said that we could bring in our own poems, right?
Yes.
Well, could I read what I've written so far in my Ode to Laura?
I would love to hear it.
So each line begins with the letter of her name. So put it up on the screen.
Got it.
Okay, here goes. Ode to Laura. Losing you is the worst thing that ever happened to me. All other pain is nothing in comparison. Underneath this calm facade, my heart is breaking. Ruined now forever is my life. Anything would I do to have you with me again. So that's it so far, but I plan to write some more stanzas.
I love it. So beautiful and direct. What do you see in it, Cy? Robin?
Each line is a sentence, so it's kind of prosaic. To me, a poem should be more like a song, not an essay.
I agree. I mean, why not just write her a letter? That's what it sounds like.
So it's no good?
Maybe try turning it into a song.
I would have no idea how to do that. Lou, can you give me any advice?
Oh, I'll tell you a little trick Alan taught me. Delete in between words. Take the first line. Losing is the worst thing that ever happened to me. Rewrite that as something like losing you worst ever. Next line, change to other pain nothing. Third line, underneath heart breaking. Fourth line is
Life forever ruined?
yes.
And so the last line, anything to have you again.
Great. Now read the whole thing.
Okay. Right. So losing you worst ever. Other pain nothing. Underneath heartbreaking. Life forever ruined. Anything have you again.
Yes, much better. Awesome.
I see what you mean.
Now you can make a song out of it.
It reminds me that Bob Dylan won the Nobel Prize for Literature with his song lyrics. And that's because they really were poetry. When they asked him who his biggest influence was, he said Homer, which was, oral poetry, sung with a lyre, kind of a guitar. No?
Did you ever meet him?
Of course I know him. He has a house near mine, upstate.
He's really Jewish, right?
Yes.
Like down in Ginsberg.
And Jerry.
Oh.
Excuse me, but can I read something?
Sure, that's why we're here.
It's actually the lyrics of a rap song.
Can you share it on your screen?
Right. I was practicing this. Let's see. Here we go. It's by LL Cool J in the 80s called I Need Love. Full disclosure, I changed all the girls to boys and hers to him.
Great, no problem. Please read it for us.
When I'm alone in my room, sometimes I stare at the wall, and in the back of my mind, I hear my conscience call.
Wait, can you try reading it like Cool J did it?
Really? I'm not an actor, so.
Just try.
Should I, Lou?
It's up to you, Robin, but why not?
Okay. Don't laugh at me.
Try to get into it.
The big director here.
Okay, might as well give it a shot. When I'm alone in my room, sometimes I stare at the wall, and in the back of my mind, I hear my conscience call, telling me I need a boy who's as sweet as a dove. For the first time in my life, I see I need love. I can feel it inside. I can't explain how it feels. All I know is that I'll never dish another raw deal, saying I'm all, kissing you on the ear, whispering I love you and I'll always be here. Although I often reminisce, I can't believe that I found a desire for true love floating around inside my soul, because my soul is cold. One half of me deserves to be this way till I'm old, but the other half needs affection and joy and the warmth that is created by a boy. And a boy, I need love.
That's it?
No, there's several more verses, but I just wanted to show you all what it's like. You white folks might not know who this is, but this is one of the most popular rap songs ever. He made millions with it.
I can see why. Very powerful.
Oh, good job. You really got into it.
Thanks. It felt good.
What did you think or feel about it, Curtis?
Well, I'm quite experienced at analyzing poetry, but I'm afraid you'll say I'm racist if I say anything negative about this poem. So,
Holding back like that, Curtis, is more insulting, more condescending than just saying how you feel.
well, okay then. To me, it's very simplistic, as if written by a child. And the rhymes, I don't know, they seem so forced, even unnecessary. Also, it's a very self-indulgent, really all about himself, Mr. Cool or whatever his name is. So I can't ever imagine it being in an anthology of great poetry.
Well, yours was no better.
Oh, I admit that, absolutely. But I never claimed it was any good or tried to make money with it, much less millions.
The truth is, son, the LL Cool J is a hell of a lot smarter than you are. Plus, he has a wife and kids. Something you'll never have the bigger dog.
Okay, now let's try to be civil here. No need to get personal.
But he insulted me.
Excuse me, Robin. I said nothing about you personally. I simply said what I thought about Mr. Cool J's poem, like you asked me to.
It's so funny you picked his poem because my girlfriend's name is also Jay.
Is LL Cool J's last name J, or is it Mr. Cool J?
I think Cool J is his last name, like a hyphenated last name without the hyphen. And his first name is initial L with a middle initial L as well.
Like LL Bean?
This is getting kind of racist.
Oh, chill out, Robin. We're just playing with words. I mean, isn't that what poetry really is?
Words are important. They mean something, and they can hurt worse than sticks and stones. But white people don't really understand them.
Oh, really? So white people don't know the words can hurt? Are we not human too? Do our lives not matter as well?
Oh, so now you're mocking me by throwing Black Lives Matter back at me?
Honestly, I never liked that phrase either. I mean, really? Like, what am I? Are Asians now lumped together with white people? Like anything but black?
I think you all need a little history lesson. Blacks are different from all other races and ethnic groups in America because we alone were brought here against our will as slaves, which meant considered less than fully human, somewhere between man and ape.
They were actually counted as one half a person in the old South.
And you know who the white people bought them from? Other black people who owned and sold them in Africa.
Now that is totally racist.
Do you know they're now saying there should be a quota on how many Asians can be admitted to Harvard? And you know why that is? Because we're all so smart and hardworking that we outperform everybody. If they admitted people just on the basis of merit, we might fill up a whole class.
That's ridiculous. If Black folks just stayed home and studied all the time like you guys do, we'd get 100% on those tests too. But we don't live quiet, orderly homes at our perfectly organized desks doing all our homework every night.
Well, probably a lot of black people get in there just to beef up the sports teams.
I can't believe you're saying this.
Is it an insult to say that black people are better at sports?
I might add that the only reason colleges care about their sports team is they help raise money for them.
This is all very interesting, but I'd like to get back to the rap poem itself we're discussing. Like I said, all poetry, like Homer, was originally oral poetry, even before writing was invented.
Now that I think about it, why is it that sub-Saharan Africa has few, if any, written languages?
Because Blacks have inferior intelligence. Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm just saying that poetry is like blues and jazz. It's not based on written notes.
There are many kinds of intelligence, not just math and verbal, but also musical, dance, athletic,
Emotional.
social.
How about visual, like painting, like Laura?
So, what kind of intelligence makes for great poetry?
Or just poetry. Forget great. Like, who's to say what's great or not?
It's obviously some kind of writing talent, right?
Except, my dear, for oral poetry, like rap, as we just tried to explain to you.
You know what? Today, we may be going back to purely oral language because people just dictate words into their phones and computers, which then play them back for others to listen to. I mean, you can quote, write, unquote a paper or book or anything without actually writing anything by hand or typing it on a keyboard.
Well, it still needs to be turned into something you can print out because you can't memorize everything.
I guess, maybe. I don't know. Memory, all alone in the moonlight. I can dream of the old days. Life was
Anyway,
beautiful
Sai, now it's your turn. Do you have a poem to share with us?
Well, Lou, as a matter of fact, I do. Can you guess who it's by?
Let's see. Maybe it's by my old pal, Alan.
Nope.
Don't tell me it's by a Black person.
No, I won't because it's not.
Now, Sue?
Talk about racial profiling. But no, it's by a little known poet named William Shakespeare.
Or known as Will I Am, Shake My Spear.
Yeah, he the man.
Which poem, Sai?
The sonnet, number 29 to be exact, called When in Disgrace.
Excuse me, but what exactly is the song?
A sonnet was on it, but let me just read it first and we'll talk about it later.
Okay.
It's short, 14 lines. It's called When in Disgrace. So here goes. When in disgrace with fortune and man's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, and trouble death heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate, wishing me like to one more rich in hope, featured like him with friends possessed, desiring this man's art and that man's scope, with what I most enjoy contented least. Yet in these thoughts myself almost despising, haply I think on thee, and then my state, like to the lark at break of day arising, from sullen earth sings hymns at heaven's gate, for thy sweet love remembered such wealth brings, that then I scorn to change my state with kings.
Oh.
Can you say that again?
I should have screen shared it. Okay, wait. Here, does everybody see it?
Got it.
Now, that is what I call a great poem.
A great white people's poem, I guess.
It's definitely not oral poetry,
Like classical music, not rap music.
but it does have rhyme, every other line.
Except the last two lines, which express the meaning of the problem posed in the first two sets of 4 lines and answered in the third set.
So it's all very logical.
Yes, it's sort of logical, but not just in an intellectual way. The poet is writing about some very deep feelings we all share, like whatever race or background might be.
Like what?
Like envy. He envies other people's wealth, good looks, friends, abilities, knowledge.
And how others see him, and like when he writes in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes.
He also curses his fate and deaf heaven, meaning prayers are of no use.
Yeah, I'm getting it now. Like that fourth line. And look upon myself, curse my fate. It's kind of self-hatred, but also it's just his fate and not his fault. I mean, you can hate how you're born without blaming yourself for being.
Exactly.
And then what's so great is he overcomes all this negativity by thinking about the person he loves, who means more to him than any of all these things in his life that he's missing.
I do agree. And believe me, I feel the same way about Terrence.
So now maybe you can understand how I feel. Having lost the one and only love of my life, I'd rather be homeless, living in a cardboard box on the street if it meant that I still had Laura.
I doubt Laura would want to live there.
The thing is, Curtis, that women want what they can't have. And when they get it, always wants something else.
Oh, is that so, Robin? And men are just happy with what they've got.
Somebody once said, women want one man who will satisfy their every want and need, and men want any woman who will satisfy their one want and need.
Well, straight men and women anyway.
Shall we just say Martians and Venusians, whatever their gender? By the way, some people say Shakespeare was bi. What do you guys think?
Well, it might account for his deep understanding of both sexes, but not his literary genius.
I don't really care. But the thing is, I get this poem is about love and envy, but like, why be so indirect about it with all this flowery language? See, that's what I like about rap. The dude just says how he feels direct, without all the bullshit.
No, you don't get it. It's not what he says, but how he says it. You know, the rhythm and the rhyme of the language is, you know.
I was thinking it's like 5/4 time in music with 5 beats a line, which is like a measure, you know?
Five iambs, you mean?
What?
An iamb is like the dot. So in like rock music, you usually have the dot, 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 the dot. 4 beats to a line. But in a sonnet, it's the dot, 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 the dot. 5 beats. So the beat is in the words and how they are stressed. Like in the first line, when in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes. But Shakespeare sometimes works against the expected beats, like in the line, featured like him with friends possessed.
The point here is that the beat is built into the language.
That's all very clever. But I can't imagine people dancing to a sonnet.
No, and they aren't supposed to.
And of course, the Bible is full of poetry.
So?
So there are different strokes for different folks.
Because we're all different, right?
On the surface.
Like skin color, hair color, height, weight, sexual orientation, etc., etc., etc.
Beneath the surface.
We're all the same. What a cliche.
Yes, Curtis. But there's often a reason why something's a cliche. Because it's true.
Or simply a stereotype, like all Asians are hardworking, boring nerds.
So, what is a poem anyway? And what purpose does it serve?
You could ask that about any art form. But my granddaughter Rebecca came up with as good an answer as any I've ever heard, which is that, quote, art is a piece of consciousness made perceptible, unquote.
I like that.
It's an even cooler idea when you realize that the whole universe itself is made of consciousness, like underneath the fundamental particles, the basic stuff of reality is consciousness. The brain doesn't create consciousness, it receives it. And the arts show us what it looks like, sounds like, feels like.
Feelings, nothing more than feelings, trying to forget
Those our soul.
my
Yes,
feelings
yes,
of love.
yes.
Then I get it. So each individual soul is just a drop in the infinite ocean of souls, which is God.
Curtis, you're blowing me away. That's it exactly.
We are all connected.
That's exactly what I found for myself in Guatemala.
Lou, I gotta tell you something. All Black people know this already. The problem is most white people don't.
I'm glad you said most.
Of course, brother.
Brother. You're calling me brother? I am flattered.
I see your soul now, man.
I can't believe you guys are saying this.
Robin's my man.
Curtis, you rock, bro.
Actually, I'm starting to like both of you.
You know, I just had a crazy idea. Why don't we try and write a poem together? Like one of us says a line and somebody else says the next line and so on.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Do we write it down?
Oh no, we'll just let it be whatever it wants to be and let it grow.
Like a jazz improv.
Right.
Anybody want to start?
Oh, I will. Let me think. Okay, here goes. Whole world fucking falling apart.
People killing themselves left and right.
Teens smash windows. Looting.
Excuse me, are we supposed to stay in the same order?
No, just shout it out whenever you feel like it.
Can we go twice in a row?
Yes, yes. Men shitting like dogs on the sidewalk.
Women stabbing men, laughing.
Little children homeless, starving, dying in the street.
Floods, fires, sirens.
Rikers Island emptied out. Prisoners storming the city.
Con Ed down. No electricity. The Dow hit zero.
Police shooting each other.
Just another fun day in Fun City.
Meanwhile, all is well in the metaverse. Let's stop there.
Oh, wow, pretty good poem. Interesting how we all got into the same groove there.
All those present participles are the ing words.
Kept it moving along.
If not exactly moving.
Lots of anger in that poem. Frustration.
I do like the idea of a group creating poetry like a rock band, you know?
Warhol made some paintings with Basquiat in the 80s, but it definitely helped that they were both already famous. And that's the thing. How on earth does anyone make any money writing poetry?
Like you said, Robin, it helps to be famous. Then people will read them or turn the poems into songs like Bob Dylan did and make them known that way.
Or have a big personality like your buddy Allen Ginsberg.
True enough, Cy. Although he did earn attention initially with his masterpiece, Howl.
Or you can go to the university routes and get published and established, if not little read, poetry magazines.
But can you really write good poetry in an ivory tower? Or shall we say ivy tower? Don't you need real world experiences to write about?
Great experiences don't make the writing great. Writers make ordinary experiences into great writing, like Emily Dickinson.
And teaching's not a bad job, actually, if you're tenured. Maybe with a university housing, health insurance, smart colleagues, culture.
Affairs with your students.
Alas, no more. Which, by the way, I think is ridiculous. So what's wrong with, say, a mid-20s graduate student having an affair with his or her professor?
I totally agree. I mean, who's using who there?
Personally, I think political correctness is the enemy of artistic freedom.
I do think hate speech should not be tolerated.
Of course, of course. That's not what I'm talking about. Speaking of talking, I'm getting so tired of talking on Zoom. Not all of you, but just in general.
Aren't we all?
I never liked it to begin with.
I don't either. But I think talking on the phone must have seemed weird when it began 100 years ago or whenever. And it's only going to get higher tech, but with the metaverse and all, The next step, of course, is when it will be like we're all in the same space in 3D so that you can't tell the difference from it being a meeting in physical reality, except that you can touch someone and feel their skin.
Or maybe you can. How about that? Your avatar touches somebody else's avatar, and it just feels like skin to skin. I mean, can you imagine what porn will be like?
But then would it be cheating if, like, on your wife, if you had sex with another woman's avatar?
It would be totally platonic.
I do think there will always be love poems, even if the lovers are avatars.
This whole avatar business might just be a fad, you know. I mean, new things seem exciting at first and people get bored with them.
Jerry liked to say that the sets, props, and costumes of the world are forever changing, but human emotions never do. And that's why there will always be poetry. Speaking of which, do the three of you know what you have in common?
Love of poetry?
The need to be loved?
The fact that we will all die someday.
Oh, yes. But I mean something more specific and not so deep.
I give up. What is it?
Okay, this is it. Everybody here knows somebody who was in my granddaughter's philosophy class, including the professor.
Is this supposed to be a mind-blowing revelation?
No, but it did give me an idea, which is now that everybody's getting sick of meeting on Zoom and the pandemic seems to be going away, maybe we should all get together. I mean, the four of us, plus the people in her class at my country house in the Catskills for a weekend in person.
Huh. Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, I know Terrence did like that class. So sure.
You know, maybe I might even be able to get Laura to come.
Maybe have somebody else invite her so she doesn't know you'll be here. And then act surprised to see her.
I can do that.
Robin, maybe you'd rather bring somebody else?
No way. Not a good idea. I never cheat on him around anybody who might know him. Not good for domestic bliss.
I think you all are going to love my granddaughter.
But what about her professor? What's he like?
I never met him myself, but she adores him.
Are they an item? Probably.
I honestly don't know and wouldn't ask.
Maybe you'll like him too.
You know who'd I like to bring?
Someone you love?
Yes.
Was a poet?
Yes.
Somebody we know of?
Yes.
Your neighbor, Bob Dylan?
No.
Then who? Do tell us, pretty please.
Jerry.
Your late husband, the poet.
Yes. And I'm going to invite him in a seance during that weekend.
Cool.
You're kidding, right?
Oh, you really believe in those kind of things?
I'll never know if I don't try.
Oh, wow.
You know, this is weird, but Laura is also into those new age things, so this would definitely appeal to her.
You said she was a painter, so she could do that up at my country house.
Maybe I'll tell her that.
How many rooms do you have?
There's enough for everybody and more. 8 bedrooms in the main house and 2 in the guest house.
Ah, I'd love to see it.
I know, you're an interior designer.
How old is it?
Oh gosh, I don't know exactly. Sometime in the mid 19th century when people took the train upstate.
Is it haunted?
Let's just say I've heard things.
Does that scare you, Sai?
No, actually, I've always wanted to meet a ghost.
How about a ghost writer of poetry?
And that's what the spirit of Jerry would be.
Very good, Curtis. Jerry did say to me that if he were to die before me, he would try to get in touch with me from the other side. So,
And that's what you will be doing.
indeed. And now our time is almost up. But first, I'd like to read a little poem Jerry wrote many years ago called It's Not for the Dead We Weep. Write each day as if it were your last, what you want them to remember. I would rather she die before me so as not to be left alone. I can't live alone, not that I would for long, finding someone new without much time for grieving. And why should I? It is not for the dead we weep, but for ourselves.
Wow, I like it. He was like, just move on, death be damned.
That's good. Makes you think. I mean, it's not the person who died who said.
Or might a soul eternally regret a misspent life?
I do think Jerry would not have wanted me to mourn his death for the rest of my life.
Your poem makes me think about what the purpose of life really is.
Thank you, Curtis. Jerry would have loved that comment.
I see too how his apparent selfishness, like, I'll find somebody else if you die, was really very loving.
But I could not just move on as the poet suggests, as the poem suggests, after he passed away.
A lot of people today just say past, suggesting that the soul passed on to a new dimension.
I like that sigh. Thank you.
But you did weep when Jerry died, yes?
Yes, but like the poem says, not for him, but for myself.
And did you ever find somebody to replace him?
No, that was impossible. He was truly special, unique, smart, like all those Columbia guys, very funny and handsome. That's why Alan and everybody wanted him around all the time.
They probably also appreciated your financial support.
Of course, I knew that. But it was he they really liked. He was such a sensitive soul, always taking care of me. I mean, emotionally. There was never a better person to talk with. He always cheered me up with his love and understanding and jokes. He could make me laugh through my tears.
So you really are a romantic.
Yes. And God, who I believe is the universe, is consciousness, is felt as love.
So then, you are in love, in the love of the universe, which flows through your heart.
Yes, yes, yes. And I still feel it coming from him, from beyond the grave.
Which is why you're still seeking him there.
Yes.
And if you can't be with the one you love, honey, love the one you're with. Love the one you're with. Love the one you're with.
I do envy you, Robin, because your love still walks on the face of the earth.
So does the love of my life, but no longer with me does she walk.
Oh,
Anyway, thank you, Lou. It's been fun.
I actually can't wait to meet everybody in person.
We will. I promise.
If you're down and confused and you don't remember who you're talking to, concentration slip away because your baby is so far.